All right. It's another week. It's another battle report. We have the Necron Awakened Dynasty today versus the World Eaters. New Daemonkin detachment. Yes. Can they basically put bloodletters wherever they want? Absolutely. So if you're wondering how this game went, we're going to take this 3-hour game. We're going to condense it down into like 20 minutes, give you what worked, what didn't work, what we learned, and simply passing that knowledge on to you because I truly believe if one of us gets better, we all get better. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we have the new hidden supplies today. All right. Great mission. One of my new favorites. I gotta say, I will echo. I love the new secondary changes. I love all the new missions. I think even supply drop is cool. All right. I would say it's the worst one out of all of them, but it got a lot better. So there's that. But I think hidden supplies is really cool. It's hold 1 in the midfield for 5, hold 2 in the midfield for 10, or hold more and you get 15. So it still gives you some interaction with your home field. I think it's super cool. And we're playing on the new layout 7. So really wanting to try more of these layouts, the new ones specifically, just to get practice, understand the firing lanes, etc. And so this is going to be just going to be a really good report. I'm excited to talk about this one. So playing Crucible of Battle, diagonal deployment, and going into this game, you're going to notice that Chronomancer over here made a celebrity appearance. Devin, who we played against tonight, he is fully committed to Warhammer. So right after work, he came right over. He did not have Karn, so I was like, "Hey man, I got a 40 mil character. You want this Chronomancer to be Karn? He can be. He just can't have Fire and Fade. That is not okay. But he can be Karn for this game," and he agreed. So pretty meta list here with Daemonkin. We got 3 Forge Fiends. We have Scarbrand, who is not Angron right here. We have a big brick of the Blood Crushers with the Lord in there, so they can go through walls. He has 2 units of 10 Bloodletters in reserve, and then he's got a couple units of dogs to go up and down. I'm going to link the lists in the description or in the comments, so if you want to check those out while you're watching, feel free to. And then this is my Awaken list that I've been running as of late. Really been liking the list. I'm pretty sold on just having 1 Wraith Brick. I think that's like overall a really good sweet spot. And kind of the interesting tech here is we do have the Hex Mark with +1 to hit. So anything within 6 inches of the Hex Mark is going to be +1 to hit. So it's really cool with the Silent King because against certain matchups, you can have an ignore mods or rerolls, and you're still getting the +1 to hit, which is really cool. So going into the matchup, Necrons, aren't melee pressure is definitely a problem, especially on layout 7. So I intentionally, want to give myself not the most ideal scenario here because it gives me better practice. Maybe I'm kind of a weirdo like that and just kind of like the puzzle of it all, and something that's going to be definitely a challenge. So going into this game, he doesn't have a lot of long-range anti-tank outside of the Forge Fiends. So, could play things a little bit more loose as far as on the line. But the biggest thing is you're really trying to limit his bloodletters, obviously, coming in where you don't want them to. So just being very cognizant of that. And, just trying to, whittle his resources down as best you can throughout the game. So let's flip over to the game and see how we did here. All right. So the Necrons are going to get first turn. All right. So we're playing Hidden Supplies, and we get Secure No Man's Land and Overwhelming Force off the rip. This was a perfect pull just because I think in general right now you don't want to go up in points early. So being able to get an easy 5 on Secure No Man's Land, being able to discard Overwhelming Force for a CP, perfect secondary pull turn 1. I think that's great. So it's going to be a pretty easy turn for me where you're going to see me essentially just moving up the race, right, onto this objective. We have the flayed ones over here infiltrating. They're going to be lining this wall 1 inch to prevent anything from coming out. And then we are going to stage up Xeris and the Scorpec Lord with the Feel No Pain on this objective right here. And before you see this game unfold, I think that was one of the biggest issues with this this game is I definitely could have deployed a little bit better. I thought the race would have been better suited in the center. But after playing a couple games on this layout now, I find, at least with my list specifically, I really do like them more over here and having these units kind of harassing the center. So it's almost like you're switching these pieces for these pieces. So these just kind of like flip-flop with each other, more or less. So anyways, let's go over into the game here. Keep things moving along. So really straightforward turn. It took me all of about 3 minutes, okay? So stage up here, you're going to see essentially you have two characters with, super durable. The king gives, Scorpec King gives Xeris Lonop. The idea is that, they can kill one of these characters. They're not going to be able to kill both of them and pass it over to him. And you're really, you're lining this wall so he can't go through it. And then the racer staging up here. We're keeping the Technomancer behind the footprint here just to prevent any sort of weird interaction with precision. And then we're lining this wall up, again, also like 1 inches to limit anything coming in, okay? So going into his turn, Devin is going to get no prisoners and mark for death. So not ideal. So he is going to get unfortunately, a 0 on secondary this turn. And he does spend a CP to bring up the Blood Letters at the end of turn 1, or the Blood Crushers, excuse me. So Blood Crushers are in reserve, and then also Blood Letters as well. So, and 1 Forge Fiend. So there's quite a bit in reserve. So you're wondering why he doesn't have a lot on the table. That's why. So going into the turn, he's going to do something similar here. So he's just going to stage up, and you're going to see him bring Scarbrand over here as a nice little staging point. We have some Chaos Spawn right here. He's going to drop the dogs right here to kind of complete his screen. We have Forge Fiends staging up here, so they have flexibility to cover this lane down here. This lane, this Forge Fiend can move over and cover this lane. I guess that's one good thing to talk about. Mainly on layout 7 and 8, these are the big firing lanes. So on both of them, they're like big X's. The only thing that changes on layout 7 is obviously you have a nice shooting lane down this way, and on this way in 8, you do not have that. Okay, so this is kind of more or less what you're working with. And then it's nice for deployment because you also, if you have like anti-tank here, you have flexibility to shoot down this way, etc. So something like that. Okay, so let's back it up here because that's looking a little messy. So Spawn are going to come over here. And his intent was to essentially bring the Spawn over, connect with the flayed ones, pops the flayed ones, brings out the Daemonkin, and then he denies me the point. I'm telling you, man, this attachment, it's good, dude. It's good. But tell you what, man, Necron's doing Necron things. 1 flayed one. This guy right here saves the day. Saves the day, ladies and gentlemen. So he lives. We do Heroic Intervene with the Scorpec Lord, and we leave a Chaos Spawn on 2 wounds, okay? So this is essentially the board state going into top of turn 2, where we're going to get a 10 on primary because we hold this objective 5OC. We have 5OC on this objective, and we are going to get Established Locus and a Tempting Target. Now, here is where the game, unfortunately, kind of really fell out of control, I think, at this point. And this is why we practice these type of games. So the first glaring thing I talked about in deployment, and this is what I'm really going to highlight, is we have this really ugly area right here that I have to figure out what to do with. Now, the problem is you're like, well, yo, Kylan, why don't you just send out these Scorpecs and go, charge these Chaos Spawn? Nice trade, probably clean them up. Problem is that he has Blood Crushers, Forge Fiend, 2 Bloodletter units in reserve, okay? So if I charge these Scorpecs in here, there's actually a couple things he could do. So one, I could move up these Scorpecs. This is what I was thinking about. I'm thinking my thought process at the beginning of the turn. So Scorpecs could move up, and because he made this a tempting target, and either he could ingress in Bloodletters right here, and then Heroic Intervene, and then I'm screwed. Or I could charge the Scorpecs in, Heroic Intervenes with Scarbrand, and I'm still screwed, but at least I forced him to use a CP. Like, none were good options. I'm just losing that unit basically for nothing. And he could also pop the Bloodletters as well, so I wouldn't even get Tempting Target, and I would lose the unit. So that was not an option. But the problem is that I also needed something to screen here, this whole area, because otherwise he's going to drop something here. So really the only thing that I could do because of my misplay, my deployment error, and this is a good thing to highlight. I mean, all top level players, they all talk about like deployment is so important, and practicing these things and analyzing these things. And I'm just really trying to highlight, like, even in the games, I mean, that you win. Obviously, this game is one that I lost, but going back and reflecting on these little details, because this is what's going to help you become a better player even faster. Okay, so the race move over here, as you're going to see, to essentially create this screen. Okay, while still being on the point, you're going to see this kind of unfold here in a second. So let's fast forward here, and I'm going to show you the board state here. Okay. And this turn took quite a while here. Okay, so race move over here, and we complete this screen. So we push this screen back here, but the problem is he does now have a pocket that is here and right here. Okay, so you're seeing on this next picture here that he's trying to figure out where he wants to put these bloodletters. And you also have to think about that when I pop this spawn right here, you always have to be thinking about, okay, whatever I'm killing or whatever dies, like he could put 10 bloodletters here. And is that going to be like a massive problem? Like this army gives you a lot to think about. So, you know, definitely getting a couple reps into an army like this is extremely valuable, I think, before a tournament. Because with that Daemonkin trick, or with the bloodletter trick, excuse me, you know, it can really catch you off guard if you're not prepared for it. Or you don't know fully how it like interacts, because it's at the end of any phase, so it just can happen anytime. So we line up enough shooting here where essentially if I do kill this, he doesn't want to spawn the bloodletters there because otherwise he's going to lose them. So we've kind of neutralized his ability to do that. But what he ends up doing is actually putting the bloodletters in the center, which I thought was super cool. I was like, yeah, dude, like let's try it. I didn't put anything in the center. That's on me. So he puts the bloodletters right there. Okay. Now, what this also does, though, is it does open up charges from these Skorpek Lords, which are all 9 inches. And my thought process was he's essentially trying to, you know, obviously charge next turn, and probably go after the race and just get them off the table. And he's going to put me in a bad spot. So what ends up happening is the race get their charge. They were the only ones that got the charge off, which, you know, was maybe not ideal. But at least like to tie them up or to like try to slow them down. Because I know this unit, even on like not charging, they probably pick up like a couple race, and at least I help just keep them there, right? We're kind of creating this like wall. I definitely don't love like the spawn and Mr. Skarbrand himself, all of this being able to connect next turn. Not good. But hey, this is why we practice, man. So this is essentially the board state going into top of 2. So he kills a couple. He kills a couple crypto thralls. This is really important to note out, is that the race are exactly at 6. Okay, so we don't need to bow tie anymore, if you notice that, which is really cool with the how you can pull. So a lot of times with the crypto thralls, you almost always want to imagine like they're in the unit, but they're also not in the unit. What I mean by that is that you're intentionally positioning the race so that when you lose the crypto thralls, you're still within coherency, if that makes sense. Kind of like the Warriors, a little bit technical to play when you have the crypto thralls in there of like some tricks you can do, but just something to kind of point out there. So this is essentially the end of top of 2. And then we're going to go into bottom of 2 now. Okay, so he's going to get also a 10 on primary because he's going to hold this objective and this objective. And he's going to get Storm Hostile, Display of Might. So both of those very easy. He just needs to push me on this objective, essentially. And then he needs to just get more units in midfield. And right now, I literally only have like 3 units. And since this is definitely going to be his push turn, that's like an automatic card. So you're going to see these assets shift over. So let's play this out here in his movement phase. And you're going to see that unfold. So we have Forge Fiend dropping in here. Chaos Spawn shift up. Forge Fiend goes over here, takes this objective. And Skarbrand moves up this way. Blood Crushers are still in combat. We have the Demon Prince coming up. Like this is, guys, this is just not good. Not good. Okay. But here we go. So, Forge Fiend got LOS on Mr. Reanimator right here, okay? So you're seeing how this colossal no screening here is causing all sorts of problems by just like being able to flip-flop the Race and Xeris in the deployment, like that combo, that package, would have prevented like a lot of these problems. But this is, again, very good thing to highlight. So going into the turn, so we're just going to move over to, so the Forge Fiend fires at the Reanimator, gets it down to 1 wound, baby. 1 wound. Look at that, man. I love to see it. Okay. So the spawn charge in. Of course, they're going to clean up the Reanimator. And then what's kind of crazy is the Bloodletters can actually pop off the Reanimator, which is actually going to happen. So you're going to see Scarbrand comes in, Blood Crushers, and the Demon Prince. So basically what's going through my mind here is we are going to Heroic Intervene with the Scorpex here, because on the charge, they're still going to get the full rerolls, because the only thing that counts as a charge bonus is Fight First. Remember that, even on Heroic Intervene. And we're going to pop our, I believe I popped my devs on this, and hopefully we can clean up the spawn on his turn. And then the Reanimator unfortunately dies. And here we sequence it correctly, so we're able to essentially pull out of combat. So the Scarbrand is going to go, and he ends up killing just enough Race to pull all of these out of combat. So you're going to see this here, kind of a similar trick that we did with the Warriors, where you limit where he's able to attack, and then that's all sitting there. So thankfully, we were left with a Techno, a Wraith, and a Crypto Thrall. That's all we had left there, which, hey, we'll take it. So basically, at this point, we need a big clapback turn. So he spawns the Bloodletters right here, okay? We got 2 spawn right here. I think the Scorpex did not actually clean that unit up. So at the end of the turn, this is more or less what it looks like. So he has 1 spawn left. He's got Bloodletters and all this right here. So looking at the board state, going into top of 3, I think I spent a little bit too much time thinking about this, where I think I probably played it right, but essentially what I was looking at, I was like, okay, I think what for sure needs to die is this right here, okay? I thought I had enough output to get them off the board, but you're going to see what happened. So he put his units into a 5-up Feel No Pain, I believe. So Scarbrand is a 20 wounds, T11, 4-up Invul, 5-up Feel No Pain. So going into this turn, we're essentially going to shift our resources up. I'm going to show you what this looks like here. Let's see, before the shooting phase. Okay, so essentially what we're doing is we're creating the aura here. So this DDA rapid ingress in, so it's getting +1 to hit in devs, or it's heavy in devs. This one is hitting on 2s with devs, and it's also getting rerolls because it's next to the king. And then we also have Xeris +1 to hit. We're basically all in right now. So we have all the Scorpec Lords. This was essentially the thought process. Scorpec Lords, Xeris, DDA, Silent King, all of his shooting. Silent King, all of his shooting into Scarbrand. And this is crazy, man. Okay, so yeah, this just not go well. Probably 9 times out of 10, this probably would have happened, but it did not happen today. So we get the Bloodletters down. Scarbrand is still alive. I think on like, I mean, he rolled slightly above average, but I can't remember if it was like the DDAs just whiffed or what it was, but it just was not good. So it's like if I told you that I put a DDA, Silent King, all of his shooting, charge from the Silent King, and the Scorpex coming in, and I still could not kill Scarbrand. He was down to like 4. Yeah, he was left at 4 wounds. And so, unfortunately, what was left was these 2 characters. So the character and then the Demon Prince, which was rough. So, like, in hindsight, seeing how this unfolded, I think maybe I should have put a little bit more emphasis of just making sure these assets for sure like got off the table, and then like I don't want to say I ignore Scarbrand. I mean, he definitely was the biggest threat, but like I know for sure I could have had this off the table, and then I think I could have made it even a more of like an interesting game. And then we have the racer just tying up this Forge Fiend over here. So we, on turn 3, we only get a 5 on primary, and we do get Mark for Death for 2 by killing that spawn, and then we get Extend Battle Lines for 4, and then we pass it over to him, okay? So going into bottom of 3, this is essentially the board state. He's going to get Recover Assets and Engage in all fronts. He's also only going to get a 5 on primary because he holds this one. And then that was just not what we needed, because now Scarbrand, yeah, unfortunately now, like, we needed to make sure he got off the table, because ideally he doesn't have enough output if Scarbrand is dead to hopefully get rid of the king. So by him living was like really bad, unfortunately. So Demon Prince moves up, this guy moves up. And you're gonna see this. Basically, they're gonna clap the king this turn. You're gonna see the Scorpex get whittled, or they don't get whittled down, and that's essentially the board. Bottom of 3. So the Hellbrute came over, killed the DDA. He charges into Xeris. Obviously, doesn't really do anything. And then this is essentially the board state going into top of 4. So we're actually going to get a 0 on primary, because we tie here. He auto-sees me here, and we don't have anything on the home field. Home field, you don't score unless it's hold more, by the way, so that was also why. But going into the turn, now we're basically just trying to obviously focus on, can we kill this turn? But unfortunately, we lost a lot of our damage on that clapback, having Scarbrand still alive, because now we basically just have a DDA, and Xeris. that's pretty much it. So we get engaged on all fronts of behind enemy lines. So we do get this is where the Scorpex really want to highlight. There's a lot of cool plays you can do with them. So right here is another showcase where just this one play alone, they're scoring me 5 points with 4 quarters on engage. And then we're getting behind enemy lines as well. So now I'm thinking of this as like a team match. I'm like, trying to keep it as scrappy as possible. I mean, despite everything going wrong, I mean, it was a very close game. Like, it was like neck and neck until the very last turn. So the Scorpex are going to go over here to deny his primary, because we're going to be OC4. That was like a really cool play. We're going to see if we can pop the Forge Fiend here from the race, and then the DDA is going to shift over and draw a line on the Demon Prince and see if we can pick him up on his turn. So unfortunately, that was not the case. You're going to see that play out here. So we put the DDA on this point to deny his primary. So we do give him a 5 on primary. He only holds this objective here. And then he gets basically free reign at the board again. You're going to see him just clean up the DDA. And then at that point, we're pretty much playing like fast at this point. So going into turn 5, I get a challenger card, which unfortunately I can't score. It was Opportunistic Strike. And then we get a 5 on primary because we hold this. We hold this objective, and then we get Cull the Horde, can't do, no prisoners, and bring it down. And unfortunately, I just did not have enough output left to get rid of these 2 units. I went full send into the Lord on Skulls and Mr. Demon Prince himself, and definitely just bounced off of both. When you're relying for a race and Xeris to do damage, that's just not going to be a good time. So, and then going into bottom of 5, he gets a 25-point turn, which netted it. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about. Despite everything going wrong, I mean, it was a 2-point game going into before his turn, and, scores 25 points. So, 48-75 to the World Eaters. Well done. Devin played it really well. He's gotten a lot of reps with this list. I know he has a lot of fun playing it. And I was just appreciative of him just like wanting to play this into me, because I do want to practice against these tougher matchups and these armies that are doing really well at the top of the meta. Spoiler alert, if you stuck around this long, we're going to have Death Guard on later this week. Super excited to talk about this matchup also on this board as well, because why not? Why not just create a nightmare scenario for me? So this was great. I think going back and highlighting of things, if you guys stuck around this long, just some macro level stuff. I think overall on this board, I think the race and these two units here just need to be flip-flopped. This section plays a lot better on this board, mainly because the techno can hide a lot better. There's less line of sight lines. It's just better. And then it gives me more flexibility just to put units out to deny primary, not deny primary, but screening the board. I think that was something that I was like really missing, that I got really punished for in this game. So, but yeah, other than that, man, fantastic game. Seriously, appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully this was helpful. And yeah, we will catch you in the next one.